Welcome back. Today we'll be seeing what is sudo and we'll understand what is sudo. Sudo stands for super user do and is used to access restricted files and operations. By default, Linux restricts access to certain parts of the system, preventing sensitive files being compromised. That is, for example, if you are trying to open some files, system files, you should not be allowed to access that system files if you are not an administrator, right? Only certain people will have permissions to access some sensitive information. For example, if you consider any organization website, then the database modifications or the some updations regarding databases should be restricted for common users. There should be an administrator who has privilege to update and modify the databases. Similarly, for Linux operating system, we always go with some commands. So we have different users. Earlier, it has root users. Now, the latest version of Kali Linux is having root user as different and the registered users as different. Now, if you want to access certain files which you do not have permission, then you should get some elevated privilege. That elevated privilege is given by sudo command. In other words, sudo command will allow a user with proper permissions to execute a command as another user, such as the super user. So this is equivalent to run as administrator option in Windows operating system. Next, sudo su is used for switch user. This command allows us to switch to a different user and execute one or more commands in the shell without logging out from the current session. Now we'll be seeing this. Practically in Kali Linux. So I have gone to the Kali Linux operating system, which is in VirtualBox. And I'm starting the Kali Linux machine. In the previous sessions, we have seen how to install a virtual machine like Kali Linux in our VirtualBox. So I have created a user for Kali Linux. Now I'm going for the terminal to look at this sudo command. You can see This is a user Gopi, and I'm trying to access some file, uh, which is like a sensitive file. Cat /etc/shadow. We'll discuss about this file later in detail. Now, if you see, when I try to access this file, shadow file, then you can see permission denied because I'm not a administrator or I'm not a valid user to access this sensitive file. So to access this file, I'm using the command sudo. With sudo, I'll be giving privileged access as a root user. Then it will be prompting for password. Then you could see now I have accessed the file. Right? So certain files, sensitive files, can be accessed only by the administrator, that is a root user. For that purpose, we use sudo. So to improve the security, this type of user privileges has been given, right? So every user cannot have access to the sensitive files. Only the root user or the administrator will be given permissions to access the sensitive files. Now coming to switch user, sudo su minus, then you can see the user has changed for root from Gopi. Previously, the user is Gopi. Now, the user has changed to root. So, for switching the user, we are going to use this command. Now, if I open up another terminal, you can see it is going for user Gopi, right? Even if I am in root user in another terminal, it is not going for root user, right? So this is a temporary session where you can switch the user and execute some commands that are required. So this is about sudo. In the next session, we'll be looking into accessing file system in Kali Linux. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe for the channel. Thank you.